like I was standing out on the ledge and I was like, yeah, see, y'all gonna learn one day. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Cause it's gonna come. And
Mm-hmm.
then I'm gonna be out here, not necessarily like, 1,000% healed. Cause I don't really think that you ever, you know, you grow through it, but I don't think that you ever like get over, mourn or like the grief of losing someone. You just channel that love somewhere else, right? But yeah, I was just like, I'm just gonna wait around, you know what I'm saying? And y'all gonna see, you gonna feel how I feel, and then maybe we can talk about it if I'm around at that point in time. So that's kind of like where I was. And then your second part of your question was like, how now looking back, like the people that came into my life that hadn't processed grief, like how did that show up for them? I think it was the same way. Like no people, especially like I want to say older, not older, but like when I was dating in my early 30s, right? The way that those men showed up was, angry, um like misdirected anger, you call somebody and you talking to them and then just randomly they get angry,
Mm-hmm.
like or like they don't ever sound calm in their voice. It's always kind of like that, like that, just anger. Just that was horrible. And then I also had, another one that, lost their grandmother that pretty much like raised them. And I don't know, it was just like this ever like gray cloud over them. And so all of their decisions when it came to relationships were like rooted in fear. I'm afraid to, get in a long-term relationship with you. Okay, why? Well, you never really had a valid reason.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay, well, I'm afraid to do this. Well, okay, why? Never, like just straight up fear. So that's how, it kind of showed up for me. And especially like you said, when I'm looking back at like how that shows up, yeah, I could definitely pinpoint a few situations to where they didn't appropriately deal with grief.
So, looking back, what would you tell young Jabri about
About
processing grief?
processing grief,
Mm-hmm.
I would definitely tell her. I say this all the time, like, don't give two fucks about what people think about you when it comes to like your mental health. Like it's nothing wrong with seeking someone to talk to if you don't have anyone else in the world to talk to about, grief. And in the event that you do find somebody to talk to and you don't like them, keep searching, 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 searching until you find somebody that you really, really vibe with to, just help you process those emotions.
Yeah.
Especially, I mean, I was 20, 22, like 21, 22, fresh out of college. Life was starting for me. So I would definitely tell, young Jabri to do that. Um, Also just be kind to yourself, and like understand that like everything that is going on with you as far as like from an emotional standpoint is normal. And I want to say like number 1A. So one A is find somebody to talk to, like a for real professional person to talk to. That's 1A. 1B would be don't rush into any type of relationship. Focus on yourself. Like don't make any drastic moves. Don't like just focus on yourself, because now I know that when I'm dealing with somebody and they tell me like, "Oh, somebody just passed away," and they don't follow it up with any of that what I feel type of conversations, I immediately be like, "Damn." And I probably don't talk to them again.
Well,
And
if you
that's
know better, you
bad.
do better. When you know
Girl, but
better,
that's
you do
bad.
better.
But
I
that's
mean,
bad.
I'm sure you would probably be like, you need to go talk to somebody about that, or you need to process that, or would you just ghost? Like,
I
drop off the face of the earth.
mean, depending on the
Girl.
day, depending on the day. I mean, I'm not gonna ghost or whatever, but like, I don't know. I mean,
You're
depending
back,
on,
way back.
yeah. I mean, like, like depending on the day, like, I don't know. And then too, like, some people don't be wanting to hear, like, ooh, like, you probably need to go sit in the corner and like, and deal with that or whatever, because people ain't always, open to hearing that type of conversation. And then too, like knowing where I'm
You don't
at.
think so?
Oh girl, no. Cause I mean, if they hit you with the my grandma just passed and she raised me, and you be like, oh, okay. Right. And then they don't follow it up with the, yeah, like I'm really sad. Like some days, I feel this. I'm actually, saying, talking to somebody. Um, I know this about myself, like this is where I am. I just really just need for you to do, or, would you be willing to do, show up this way for me? If they ain't talking like that, nah, I don't think that they'd be open to hear like me say, well, like from a protecting, setting appropriate boundaries with my emotions and knowing that, the nurturer will want to come out in me, right? And that may not be what you need. Like I have to actually like take a step back and, until, you get finished in the corner dealing with that, like, yeah, I'm just gonna, fall back, like
But
thank
I guess
girl.
I'm I
Nah.
guess what I'm thinking is like, because not everybody, some people feel like they over, step if they start talking about their feelings, or they don't want to put that off on someone else. So they just don't even go there. They'll just probably say, yeah, I just lost my grandmother. And then if you just say, oh, okay, maybe they don't feel invited to express how they feel, as opposed to you saying, oh, well, how do you feel about that? And then,
I mean, I probably would just say, I would say, oh, okay. And I will listen for the follow up. And then I probably would ask, well, well, how do you feel about that? But I mean, still, if that response isn't coming from a place of like, I'm willing to be open and be self aware, like, oh, yeah, I'm going to be like, damn,
well,
and fall
yeah,
back.
I get that. Yeah, I
Yeah,
get that.
and fall all the way back.
And no,
Like,
at first she was like, oh, okay.
nah, nah,
Like, damn.
I would hit him
I
with the oh,
probably
okay and
wouldn't tell
stare.
you how I feel if you was just like, oh, okay, because I probably would be like, oh, okay, she don't want to hear about,
Mm-mm.
the effects of it. So I'm gonna keep that shit to myself. But
And then
okay,
too,
I
I
see what you're
mean, I think it also depends. Like if you coming at me like, maybe first, second, encounter, and you telling me like something like deep like that, like because of where I'm at, and I don't want to trauma bond with anybody anymore. I mean, I may hit you with the oh, okay. Because like
saying.
I don't want to have to, lose another life. I, I don't
Oh
want to
my
have to give up.
gosh.
I don't want to have to give up another mushroom. You know what I'm saying? Like I know, girl, my mushrooms they like dwindling. So I don't know. I mean, I think my intuition would very well guide me into speaking like more life into that person if I needed to, or if I needed to shut it down and just be like, ooh, oh, okay, then I'll probably be like, oh, okay. But yeah, I'm very cognizant on, yeah, now, those trauma bonding experiences, because I don't want to do it. I don't. I just don't.
Yeah. I'm trying to think because I feel like if you dealt with your trauma, although it doesn't go away, like you said, like you just dealt with it and you're cognizant of it and you know how those triggers may show up and how to navigate through that. Like, do you feel like if you're past that and you've already dealt with it, like you can still trauma bond with someone who hasn't dealt with trauma or is not at the level that you are in dealing with, loss of a loved one, if it was like recent or something like that, as opposed to like yours being, so long ago and you've actually processed it? Like, do you
I
think that you
mean,
can still do that?
yeah, I think that I can, but like I said, I am also, I have heightened awareness about, trauma bonding and rush intimacy.
Oh,
And knowing, myself, knowing that I'm going to be like, overly invested if you tell me, like, oh my God, somebody passed away. I just, where I am now from a self awareness perspective, I don't know if I could show up and actually be that kind of shoulder for somebody right now where I'm at. Could I
yeah.
ever? Absolutely. But just like I said, just right now, I don't know. I mean, I could hear it, I could listen, to an extent. I think that I would definitely be listening to that self actualization, to that self care. Like, what are you pouring into yourself in this critical time? Um, and definitely be listening to those requests of myself and not just interjecting, not just being like, well, I can do this for you. And I can, yeah, I think I would just be coming from
Yeah,
a,
and I think that that shows the growth because like you're coming at it from a different perspective.
mm,
So, I don't know, I don't know. I just feel like it wouldn't necessarily be trauma bonding because of where you are now. Like,
yeah, I don't know, but girl, I'll be on the lookout for that. I'll be like, oh God, oh dang, no. Well, because then the pain body show up, like but uh, yeah, I mean, processing grief, and then too, I was reading online in preparation for this conversation, and I just kept seeing. I was like, I've heard of the stages of grief, but I kept seeing this quote that says, um, let me pull it up. That says that grief is, dang, I think it said that like grief is just love. It's love with nowhere to go or something like that.
oh,
I know, and I was like,
that
huh,
shit sounds sad. Like, like
yeah,
grief is sad, and that quote is sad as fuck.
yeah, or love misdirected or something like that. And I was like, huh, that actually that kind of makes sense. Oh, grief is love with nowhere to go.
Yeah,
So I mean, when I was thinking about just like my biggest grief moment, which was the loss of my dad, it's like, yeah, therefore a good, oh my goodness, 8 years, like, I love this person, I love this person, I love this person, I love this person, but the person isn't here. So I now have to channel that love, which is, I'm grieving, mourning love, to something, else, which I did, not to say that it diminished the love that I had for my dad, but just kind of refocusing and rechanneling that energy to life, and I did with my son. So it
oh,
was
I like
sad.
that.
Yeah, it was sad, but when I thought about it, I was like, oh, okay, so like you can't really pour into that physical being anymore because it's not here, but
It's still
now,
there.
yeah, now
Yeah.
you actually have, somewhere to like in the real earth realm, like put your finger on it to go. But the love for that person that's no longer here in the physical is still there. It's just a different type of love.
Well, that would make sense too. Like when people that are grieving in relationships and they go and they sleep around
Mm-hmm.
because they still have that love and they're trying to suppress it or numb it, but really they're really trying to give whatever it is that is still there for another being, like to someone else to get it out of them. But